What's up, guys? Welcome back to another class preview. This time we're going to be going over the Arms Warrior and kind of seeing all the changes that have happened since Warlords of Draenor and some of the new abilities. Of course, um, going over this awesome new artifact weapon. Um, and we're going to basically start out with a spell book, go over some of the talents, then end up with this artifact weapon. But let's get off into it. Just a little side note, they did add kind of a new addition, or it's now allowed that you can use SCADA, so we can actually see some of the damage meters in this and get a better idea of what our damage is going to be looking like at level 110. Well, first off, let's get in the spellbook. We do have Battle Cry as our first ability. It is a 1-minute cooldown. Lets loose a battle cry, granting 100% increased critical strike chance for 5 seconds. Now this is very useful for Fury in my mind. Not overall the best cooldown for arms. I mean, crit is always good, but um, I guess you can line it up with your Colossal Smash and kind of make the most use out of it, but I do find it more of a Fury cooldown than anything else. Moving on, we do have Berserking Rage as a 1-minute cooldown. Grants you immunity from fear, sap, and incapacitated effects for 6 seconds. Our basic Berserker Rage, we had this before, but it used to like give us some rage. Also could, if we're Fury, where we could gain Berserk off of it, or gain Enrage. So, unfortunately, it does not do that anymore, but since we're arms, doesn't matter anyways. Next up we have Blaze Storm, a talent will go later. Charge, some note on this, it is only a 1 charge. I do have a talent that makes it 2 charges and lowers the cooldown by 3 seconds. So normally it would be a 20-second cooldown, basically running to that enemy, rooting it for 1.5 seconds, and granting 20 rage. Next we do have Cleave. It costs 8 rage, and it has a 5.8 second cooldown. Strikes all enemies in front of you with a sweeping attack for 24,000 physical damage. For each target hit to 5 hit, your next whirlwind deals 20% more damage. So, if we do charge in, hit that, say I hit 3 people, this guy, that guy, next, it does increase my damage by my next whirlwind. So synergizing this back and forth is quite nice, and does increase your damage by quite a bit, therefore giving warriors a little bit more AoE capabilities. Next we do have our Colossal Smash. It does have a 45-second cooldown. Smashes the enemy's armor, dealing 97,000 physical damage and increasing the damage you deal to them by 41% for 8 seconds. Obviously, this is a very good ability. Does decent amount of damage, plus increases your damage overall to that target. You'd want this up as much as you can. There are some abilities that kind of reset this, and also your mastery works off of increasing the damage as well. So this has to be spammed on every every time it comes up. So every 45 seconds, and every time we do get a proc, try to line this up. Like if we do have the rend talent, get a rend up, have everything ready to go. Make sure we have some rage so we can depend on some of our other spells. But moving on, we do have our Commanding Shout. 3-minute cooldown. Let loose a Commanding Shout, granting all party or raid members within 30 yards 15% increase max health for 10 seconds. Basically replaced Rallying Cry and just made it in Commanding Shout. I mean, not a huge difference, but still kind of nice little cooldown, I guess. Especially if we're about to take a set amount of damage, not a percentage damage from, say, a raid boss or something like that. We do have defensive stance. Now this is a 6-second cooldown. All defensive state combat that reduces all damage you take by 30%. And this does last until cancelled. You pop this, and you're just constantly in defensive stance. I mean, you can pop it again, go back to your regular stance. I don't see why you wouldn't have this active at all times, because I can keep this active and seriously deal the same amount of damage. Oh, maybe not. Oh, there we go. It does reduce your damage taken by 30% as well. I did not see that, but it is a very useful tool since you can kind of have this at all times. This does make it very overpowered. If you're about to take a bunch of damage, just pop this and not really have to worry about it all that much, since it is a 30% damage reduction and you can keep it on almost at all times. But next we do have Execute. Does cost 8 rage. Attempt to finish off a foe, causing 54,000 physical damage and consuming up to 24 additional rage. So therefore making this 32 rage cost if we do have that much, and deal up to 164,000 additional damage if we use it with 32 rage. This is only usable on enemies that have less than 20% health. Basic Execute, we don't use it as more of a energy dump as we used to. It used to cost a lot more rage. The enemy for 1,000 physical damage, reducing movement speed by 50% for 15 seconds. Nice little slow, mostly useful in PvP. We do have Heroic Leap, 45-second cooldown. Leap through the air toward the target location, slamming down with destructive force. Aims the enemy for 1,000 physical damage, reducing movement speed by 50% for 15 seconds. Nice little slow, mostly useful in PvP. We do have Heroic Leap, 45-second cooldown. Leap through the air toward the target location, slamming down with destructive force and dealing 15,000 physical damage to all enemies within 8 yards. Now, something to note about this has changed its animation. Does look a lot cooler. Even raise up both your arms and slam down. Very cool animation. Feels even more heroic. Next is Heroic Throw. Throw your weapon at the enemy, causing 13,000 physical damage, which generates high threat with a 6-second cooldown. Good ability just to, if we're questing and just grab some mobs or whatever, or even if we do have, say, the Infernals out in Archimond, this could be a very useful tool as well if you have to taunt these, if your tanks are down or something like that. You can kind of taunt these and use it as more of a utility thing. Next, we do have Intimidating Shout. There's a 1.5 minute cooldown. Causes the target enemy to cower in fear, and up to 5 additional enemies within 8 yards to flee. Targets are disoriented for 8 seconds. Nice little CC. Not overall the best in raiding, because you'd like to keep most mobs together or be able to see them in a group, but still an awesome tool in PvP. Next we do have Mortal Strike. This does cost 16 rage with a 5.8 second cooldown. A vicious strike that deals 110,000 physical damage and reduces the effectiveness of healing on the target for 10 seconds. Now this is going to be our main cooldown that we want to be spamming all the time. So line this up right after Colossal Smash. Does create some nice synergy and some nice damage. Next is Pummel, our basic interrupt with a 15-second cooldown. Next is Ren, is a talent we'll go over later. Now Slam. Slam is basically our filler. It does cost 12 rage. Slams the opponent, causing 80,000 physical damage. Very bland, but you have to be doing something while we're waiting for our Mortal Strikes and Colossal Smashes. We still also have Taunt, 8-second cooldown, taunts the target for 3 seconds. Next is Victory Rush, strikes the target, causing 58,000 damage and healing you for 30% of your maximum life. This is only usable within 20 seconds after you kill an enemy that yields experience or honor. Very awesome tool for questing and PvP. I mean, it does have some usefulness in raiding, but those are only on high ad fights and if we're low at the time. So we do have Warbringer, which is our artifact weapon we'll go over later. Next is Whirlwind. Unleash a whirlwind of steel, striking all enemies within 8 yards for 75,000 physical damage. Like I said, this does kind of synergize with Cleave. So if you do get Cleave up, then Whirlwind, you can get some nice extra damage. With only 3 stacks of Cleave, this does jump up to 153,000 damage, making this a great synergy. Next, we do have our Mastery, Colossal Might. Increasing the damage of your Colossal Smash by 26% and causing it to increase the damage you deal to the target by additional 26%. So, normally, this would be doing a lot less damage. It does do 97,000, which is quite a bit, but we can kind of stack up our Mastery to help synergize with getting even more damage on the targets and waiting for that cooldown to proc. Next we do have Seasoned Soldier. While wielding a two-handed melee weapon, you'll deal 10% increased damage. We should always be wielding a two-handed melee weapon. Next is Tactician. Slam, Whirlwind, Execute have a 15% chance per target hit to reset the remaining cooldown of Colossal Smash and Mortal Strike. So you want those two on cooldown before you start slamming everything. They do reset quite often. I don't know if the 15% is there because I just got 3 Colossal Smashes in a row. Oh, I didn't get the 4th. But maybe I was just lucky. And we do have Odin's Fury, which is our Fury weapons. I don't know why that's in the Arms spellbook. But anyways, moving on to the talents. First talent we do have is Dauntless. It's a passive. Your abilities do cost 20% less rage. So all those 8 rage costs normally about are a lot higher. I do like this just because you're not using as much rage, but since we don't have any generators as arms, it's I don't think it's really necessary. Even we do generate a bunch of rage from just our auto attacks, so I'm thinking about changing this one out for overpower. But next one we do have is overpower. It does cost 10 rage. Overpowers the enemy, causing 102,000 physical damage. This cannot be blocked, dodged, or parried, and it has a 60% chance to critically strike. All of your melee attacks have a chance to activate overpower. So, if I have this on my bars, a nice quick little attack gives some extra damage. So, normally it's not in the rotation, but once it procs, nice little damage if it procs. Maybe. Alright, there we go. Then it procs again off of overpower. So, anyways, I think that should be a higher chance or something, just to even put it in the rotation. Next on, we do have sweeping strikes. The passive, mortal strike, and execute hit a second additional nearby target. I don't find that one that good, since Colossal Smash won't hit the other target, increasing our overall damage, but still good nonetheless. Mortal Strike is still on a 5.8 second cooldown, so it does take a while, and does not work on target dummies apparently. There we go. Next on, we do have Shockwave, a 40-second cooldown. Sends a wave of force in a frontal cone, causing 26,000 damage and stunning all enemies within 10 yards for 4 seconds. The cooldown is reduced by 20 seconds if it strikes at least 3 targets, making this a 20-second cooldown, which is overpowered, especially if we do need to CC a bunch. This could be very useful, especially in PvP, if we can get everyone lined up right. Next we do have Stormbolt as a 30-second cooldown. Hurls your weapon at an enemy, causing 48,000 physical damage and stunning for 4 seconds. Shockwave already stuns for 4 seconds and does multiple targets. So Stormbolt's a little weak right now. I mean, it does double the damage, but if we hit 2 targets with Shockwave, already made up for it. And it possibly could have a 20-second cooldown. But I guess you can Stormbolt from far away, so that does kind of have some benefits to it. Next we do have Double Time, passive, increases the maximum number of charges by 1, and also reduces the cooldown by 3 seconds. So therefore you can have 2 charges with a 17-second recharge. Next we do have Fever of Battle, so another passive. Cleave and Whirlwind generate 2 rage for each target they hit. Now, I don't like this one that much just because you already generated enough rage, so I normally can't spend all my rage, but this does generate quite a bit, or more eliminates the cost, because I do hit 3 targets, giving me 6 rage back, where Cleave costs 10 rage. So it does only cost 4 rage. Therefore, it's not. I don't think it's the best thing, but I do like Rend. It does feel more armsy to me. It does cost 15 rage, wounds the target, dealing 182,000 bleed damage over 15 seconds. Just a nice bleed. Stack it up on multiple targets if we need. Stack, stack, stack. And it's on all 3. I mean, it doesn't cost that much rage, so you can spread that around for some extra damage. And again, we do have Avatar. It's a 1.5 minute cooldown. Transforms into a Colossus for 20 seconds. causing you to deal 20% increased damage, and removing all roots and snares. So let's put this on the bar, get a little bit bigger, and turn gray. So nice little cooldown, especially for PvP. Very good for burst comps, since 2v2s are going to be um, double DPS now. So that's going to be quite nice, and might make arms pretty powerful in twos. But moving on, we do have Second Wind. It's a passive, restores 7% of your health every 1 second when you don't take damage for 5 seconds. So it's very nice on questing if you're just walking away, or even in raid. This could be very useful if you do take damage, and like say our healers are or something like this. This does generate a bunch of health back if we did just take a bunch of damage from a single hit or a single raid ability. This can kind of save our lives, so we don't have to fully rely on healers. Next is Bounding Stride. Reduces the cooldown of Heroic Leap by 15 seconds, and Heroic Leap now also increases your run speed by 70% for 3 seconds. Therefore, like this, boom, you can run a little bit faster. Plus, as says, I only have a 30-second cooldown with this. Next is Die by Sword. This does replace our defensive stance, but it does have a 2-minute cooldown. Increases your parry chance by 100%, and reduces all damage you take by 30% for 8 seconds. Something to note here, this does not reduce your damage. So if we only need a certain amount of time to be blocked or whatever, or to reduce damage, this could be a very useful talent. Therefore, you don't have to worry about your DPS dropping by 30%. Next, we do have In for the Kill, another passive. Mortal Strike generates 40 rage when used against targets that are below 20% health. Now, this could be very useful, especially since they're lower than 20% health. You are going to be executing them quite a bit, so it kind of works with execute and kind of with some of our artifact weapons that do benefit off of our execute. But this could be very nice for burst phases, and especially if fights that do require us to pop heroism or bloodlust at low health on the bosses. Next, we do have Mortal Combo, passive. Mortal Strike now has a maximum of 2 charges, so you just get an extra charge of Mortal Strike, therefore giving you more damage. But you gotta have the rage for it. There we go. And last but not least, in the 75 talents, we do have Blade Storm. It does have a 1-minute cooldown. Become a unstoppable storm of destructive force, striking all targets within 8 yards for 942,000 physical damage over 5.8 seconds. That's a huge amount of damage. But during this Blade Storm, you are immune to movement impairing effects and loss in control effects. But you can use defensive abilities and can avoid attacks while still Blade Storming, making this very nice cooldown. Plus, it looks pretty cool. It did kind of get a graphic update. So, notice right here, Blade Storm. This is very good for PvP, especially if we're fighting a high CC team. Be careful of blinks and such like that, or escapes. You do want to use this when you know that you're going to have people around you, so you can actually do some damage, because we do lose a bunch of speed or the ability to charge during this. So Next up we do have Focused Rage. Does cost 15 rage with a 1.5 second cooldown. Focus your rage on your next mortal strike, causing it to deal 36,000 additional damage, stacking up to 3 times, unaffected by the global cooldown. Now this is a little bit interesting. Let's just take that off for a second. Now you can stack this just like this, and then unleash a huge mortal strike. That one did 500k without a crit, which is amazing. But you do kind of have way less rage spamming this. So I would definitely go with Dauntless with this. Does reduce its cost plus all your other costs, but therefore making more uses out of your Mortal Strike. I could also see this being pretty useful with Mortal Combo, since you do have 2 strikes, therefore using less slams and more focused on your Mortal Strikes. So go in, pop that, and get that. Did a million Mortal Strike right there. That's insane. Next up, we do have Trauma. Another passive. Slam now causes the target to bleed for 20% additional damage over 10 seconds. Multiple uses accumulate increased damage. So, the more you use it, it does stack up a bunch. So, it doesn't do overall the best damage, but does give you some nice damage overall if you're able to keep stacking up your slam. So, next is Titanic Might. Another passive, increases the duration of your Colossal Smash by 200%, but reduces its effectiveness by 50%. So, if this could be good, just changing up how you use your Colossal Smash and giving you an overall damage increase, because you'll have a bunch of uptime. If you don't think you're going to be able to get as much procs from Tactician, maybe if we don't have as much haste or as much rage generation, I would not. This might be useful, but I do see a bunch of Colossal Smash procs, especially within the 8 seconds it does last, so I don't worry about it that much. But it does last a long time. So of the normal 8 seconds, was it at 24 seconds, which is insanely good. Next we do have Anger Management. This is another passive. Every 10 rage you spend reduces the remaining cooldown of Battle Cry by 1 second. Now it is on a 1 minute cooldown already. I mean, it's a pretty fast cooldown. This making it even faster. I would see this more as Fury than anything else. But having this reduce a bunch of costs for us is pretty good. Maybe able to make it like a 45-second cooldown, or possibly even lower if we have a bunch of haste. Next is Opportunity Strikes. Another passive. Your melee abilities have up to a 60% chance, based on the target's missing health, to trigger an extra attack that deals 62,000 physical damage. Now this is good, especially in execute range, because it is more on the lower health the person is, the more damage you're going to be doing to them. Getting these extra strikes in that do quite a bit more extra damage. I do see this more in PvP And anything else, I could see it also in rating if we do have um, the if it does proc right, and it could be a reliable source of damage. Uh, but this could be very good, especially in threes when the healer's not expecting um, a big burst of damage. This could come out of nowhere, proc, and trigger some extra damage. We still do have Ravager. It's a 1 minute cooldown. Throws a whirling weapon at the target location that inflicts 179,000 damage to all enemies within 6 yards over 10 seconds. Same old Ravager. Throw that there. Same animation, really. It does pull out our sword, so kind of cool like that. Overall, I don't think it does that much damage. I do think Blade Storm does quite a bit more. Overall, some nice useful talents that does give you quite a few options on how to play or how to even set up against a certain PvP combo or even a raid boss. So, moving on to our Warbreaker. Our first ability our only ability that we get is Warbreaker itself. Now it does have a 1 minute cooldown. You stomp the ground, causing a ring of corrupted spikes to erupt towards upwards, dealing 87,000 shadow damage and applying Colossal Smash to effect to all the enemies. So this is a very good AoE cooldown. So we pop this. We do have Colossal Smash on everyone. We pop that, and pop Blade Storm. Get a bunch of damage. But the Warbringer also has some nice passive that kind of affects your gameplay, giving you some even more bonuses. So we do have Shattered Defenses. So after using Colossal Smash, your next Mortal Strike or Execute gains 30% increased critical strike chance and has deals 30% additional damage, therefore synergizing Colossal Smash, then popping your Execute or Mortal Strike. Obviously, you don't want to do this backwards just because all your damage increases after you do cast Mortal Strike, not even from this, but from your mastery itself. But we also do have Void Cleave. When Cleave strikes more than 3 targets, it releases a burst of void energy, dealing 16,000 damage to all enemies nearby. So this is very nice. It's kind of bland in my opinion. I don't really fully understand the aspect of void damage in a warrior, but I mean it kind of makes sense with some of the lore of the artifact weapon itself. But this does kind of help out the warrior's AoE capabilities, even though I do think they're decently strong right now to AoE. And we also have Corrupted Blood of Zakaras. Yeah, something like that. Another passive for 5 seconds after activating Battle Cry. Stormcar releases a shadowy energy, causing all your attacks to deal 20% damage as shadow over 6 seconds, therefore making Battle Cry even more nicer. But something to note here, if we do have Battle Cry on a lower cooldown, say if we have Anger Management, we do get more use out of this passive as well. So the more often we can proc that, the more damage we're going to put out, doing quite a bit extra shot damage. I mean, it's 24,000, but it's 24,000 that we wouldn't have spent anyways. So, nice little damage boost. Overall, a nice spec. I do like this a little bit more than Fury right now, just um, because it flows a little bit better, and you do have the ability to change change up how you play a little better than Fury does. So I do like it. I mean, never really did like playing warriors in raids anyways. I just didn't um, get into it. But overall, I do think it's a good spec. I do like the fact that they are incorporating warriors with a lot more AoE capabilities. Therefore, kind of put them in the running with everyone else, especially ranged or boomkins and stuff like that with Starfall. Um, but it is a kind of a clean spec. It does feel nice. It does flow well, um, and you can get some nice procs off of it if you do get Colossal Smash um, quite a bit. So um, overall, it's a cool spec. Um, I'm not fully engaged with the void energy damage, but it is cool. Anyways, if we did like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. It does help out quite a bit. But if we do have any questions, please just put them in the comment box below. There's going to be many more videos to come. I still have probably like 14 more to do on just all the specs. Then I'm going to kind of revisit some of the ones that may have changed in the past, just with Legion advancing and kind of finding more of a um, nice little balance between all of our specs. But thanks again for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.